Hello and welcome to this episode of West Key Customs, and in this one we have a little bit of fun with a Matchbox Model A Ford. Here is the die cast itself before it started any work. As you can see, it's had quite a hard life, quite a lot of corrosion on it, quite battered. The headlights have been broken off, in a very sorry state and worthy to be restored, I suppose. But I thought for this one we'll do something different, have a bit of fun of it. Obviously, quite often see these Ford Model A's turned into hot rods and bits and pieces like that. I thought for this one, instead of doing the traditional sort of hot rod route, I thought what I'd do is I'd combine a hot rod with a JDM style drift car. So I thought I'd try and combine the two, make a version of a JDM hot rod, I suppose, something that I would sort of consider being best of both worlds. So first thing we had to do was obviously get the die cast apart. As you can see underneath, quite straightforward, it has the two rivets that need to be drilled out. These ones are nice and simple to drill out because they're the sort of the concave, the sort of dip in rivets rather than the dome rivets. So just need to drill out the two rivets. Obviously take care to make sure you don't damage the base if you're planning to use the plastic base again in the future. On this one I didn't need the base because it was really only the main sort of body that I actually needed from the die cast itself. But quite straightforward. Once you drill the two little posts off the rivets, obviously the wheels are just held in there by sort of being sandwiched between the plastic sort of base chassis, which is here. So just plastic one, won't be needing that. There's the wheels. Again, wheels are quite worn, not going to be using those either. You then got the sort of the lower part of the body shell, the sort of the wings, the fenders and the running boards. These are made out of metal. Not going to use these either. Front grille just comes off. We'll probably use the front grille again, and the glass inside, which is held in quite tough. No sort of plastic rivet holding it in. It's just a case of it's held in sort of by itself. And there we go. There's the glass. Bit grubby, gone a little bit yellow. I may actually have another one of these somewhere, which might be a bit clearer. Otherwise, might actually just make my own windows because they're nice and flat. They're not curved, so we can quite easily use a bit of plastic to replace the windows. But here's the body itself. This is the main part that I'm going to be using for the model itself. Going to do a few little alterations to it. Probably make an opening boot lid. I'm going to take the cut out the sort of canvas roof on the top. I'm also going to cut off the bonnet and the sides of the bonnet as well. As I said before, these are the wings. Not really going to be using these. And there's the glass again. So what I'll do is I'll probably pop all of this lot in some paint stripper, get all the paint off, so we're back down to bare metal, and then make a start as to doing the modifications. So here we go. Here's the main body of the die cast, all stripped of paint at the moment. Haven't gone over with the wire brush or anything like that. It's just literally stripped of the paint and masked out the outlines of where I'm going to be cutting. As you can see, first thing I'm going to do is tackle the bonnet. Not going to be wanting to run a bonnet on this one. Actually plan to make a visible engine on this. So first thing I do, take the old sort of jeweler's saw and just gently cut the bonnet all the way down. Takes a little while to do this because it's obviously quite a big area to cut, and don't want to rush it. Take your time, so you make sure you take off just enough metal without sort of causing yourselves any problem in the future by cutting off too much. So what I tend to do is make a line, which I've done here with the masking tape, just forward of where I need the cut line to be, and then I slowly sort of cut off the along the line, so I follow the masking tape for a nice straight edge. And then what I'll do, once I've actually removed the whole end, the whole sort of nose piece, I'll then go over with a file and just tidy it all up and actually file it down to the actual line that I want the cut to be at. So pretty much 3/4 of the way through, just got a little tiny bit to do now on the side. So I've just taken the saw back out and sort of repositioned it, and I'm just cutting through the last side bit now just to make things a bit bit easier. Would have been a bit easier if I had this in a vise, but unfortunately didn't have access to a vise at the time. So I was just doing it on the bench. But here you go. You see I've cut the bonnet off. I'll keep hold of the bonnet. Might use it again on another project. I'm also going to be cutting off the rear body mount because so planning on building my own chassis on this one, so I'm not going to need any of the body mounts, the original body mounts. As you can see, the front body mount is actually on the bonnet section, which we've cut off, and this back body mount won't need as well. And also when I plan to cut the boot out, so it's got an opening boot, obviously that will be in the way as well. So I'm just cutting the biggest chunk of the body post off at this stage with the saw. There'll still be a little bit left on there which I'll need to file down, but just got rid of the most of it just to make things a bit easier. Next I need to cut the roof section off, because I'm planning to have the roof open so you can see inside. Easiest way I found of doing this is to drill some nice small holes in the corner, so you've got something to first of all make the saw, somewhere for the saw to start off with. You can put the saw blade through the hole, and also if you've got 4 little holes in each of the corners, makes it easy to make a clean cut. So there you go. I didn't film cutting off the boot lid or the roof because took quite a while, and don't think anyone will be interested in actually seeing me cut them off. But there you go, there's the boot lid. So I'm going to reuse that. It needs a bit of cleaning up around the edges. The roof itself I'm planning to leave open, and I've also sort of filed down a bit of the base. So here we go, here's the body now all ready to be mocked up. As I said before, planning to build my own chassis out of styrene. Here's one of the chassis rails that I've made myself, just out of some styrene bar. How I did it was basically I drew round the outside of the body just on a piece of plastic, or you do it on a piece of paper. Obviously made a mock-up as to where the wheels are going to be sitting on this one, and then just basically once I'd done that, it's just a case of building a chassis to fit those dimensions. So actually what I did on this one is I built the chassis in sections because it's not completely straight. There's about 3 different curves on the body itself, and then you've got the front section of the chassis which is straight. So build it up here. You can see I'm just showing you how I built it up in sections, and then I used the plastic weld glue that you have with styrene just to build them all together, glue them all together, and that gives me the two main chassis legs that I'm going to be using. Obviously I'll add a few cross braces in there just to keep it all nice and firm and secure. There's the chassis in the process of being built. Here's the wheels that I'm going to be using. I went for a bit of a different style of wheels, so it's going to be a drift one, so some nice wide wheels. Also started to make an engine. Gone down a bit of a different route. Stayed away from the V8s on this one because it's going to be a bit of a drift car, JDM style. I decided to use sort of a typical sort of Japanese twin cam kind of engine. So started to build that out of styrene. Built a little gearbox. Bit of an intake manifold there that I've started to build as well. Again, just all scratch built using bits of styrene rod and styrene sort of bars, lengths of rod, just glued together and filed down, just to give us some kind of idea as to get the basic shape of an engine. So here we go. I did a quick mock-up here just to give you a quick idea of how it's going to look. Obviously the body there quite channeled over the chassis, probably not going to be as low as that I would have thought by the time I get all the rest of the bits and pieces in. And so at the moment it is just really a very basic mock-up just to get an idea of sort of how things are moving forward with the model. This one this model itself I've actually been doing in between other projects. It's been a bit of a long-term project, this one, so so videos have been shot sort of over the last few months when I've had sort of a spare sort of hour and I'm waiting for paint to dry on other ones. I thought I'd do a bit more on this one. So it's probably the first one that I've actually done where I've built a full chassis and other details. As you can see, there's the chassis, put some cross bracing across it. At the moment I've just put axle rods through. They need to be trimmed down and secured in there. They're not where they're going to finally end up. There's the engine, just mocked the engine up there. I've also cut the grille down, took the bumper off the grille. Plan to reuse the original grille. I've just stuck it on a bit of styrene to make it a little bit thicker. Here's the body itself. Where I'm not using the fenders, I've had to put a couple of styrene panels in the wheel wells just to sort of close the gap that you'll see. I've also made a little styrene bulkhead, and as you can see there, I've actually attached the boot lid now with a couple of hinges I made out of some paper clips, and it opens and closes. Here's the chassis again. Done a bit more work to the chassis now. I've actually put a floor on it. You can see I've put a floor on it. I've given the engine a quick coat of paint just to get it detailed as to how I'm kind of looking for it to be. Also, the axles are now secured in, and just for a little bit of extra detail, I've actually put a differential on the rear axle, just for a bit of fun, really. I mean, you know, you're not really going to see it much when it's all built up, but just thought I'd, you know, do that little bit extra on this. Made an exhaust manifold. So here's the manifold that I've just made out of some styrene tube. Made 4 little bits of styrene bar melt into a bigger tube, and I've just cut it off. So a bit of a straight through exhaust. Here's the inlet manifold. You can see I put a bit of an air filter on it as well. I'm making a fuel tank here, so this will be visible when you open up the boot lid. You'll see the fuel cell. Also got to put a bit of your typical JDM spoiler on the back. A lot of people will be thinking that's sacrilege, shouldn't be doing that to a classic hot rod. But as I said before, it's a bit of a fun build, this one, making my sort of interpretation of a JDM hot rod build. So typically these JDM drift cars will have very large, oversized spoilers on the back, and I think for this one to be you know, a true sort of reflection on a JDM, it's got the engine, it's going to need to have the spoiler on the back as well. So here's the body. So it's started to kind of clean it up a bit now. Just needs some final kind of filing, bit of filling on the boot lid and around the bulkhead, just to sort of tidy things up. Also plan to sort of put some mirrors on it and some bracing for the radiator. But as you can see, the boot lid there does open and close okay. Still need to sort of tidy up the edges a bit. I must admit, I'd like the gaps to be a bit tighter, but it's the first attempt for me on a project to actually make an opening panel. So it's all a bit of a learning curve. But there's the spoiler. Plan to put the spoiler on the back. And here we go. So next stage was to get some paint onto it. So here we go. I gave the car a bit of a paint job. It's actually quite a neon green. It doesn't look very neon in the video, but it is quite a fluorescent neon green. Wanted something a bit bright, a bit out there. As you can see, I built a bit of a roll cage there, put a racing seat in, started to sort of detail the underneath a bit. Here's the finished diecast ready to be assembled. You can see I've fitted the spoiler to the back, added in some details in the interior, got a little nitrous oxide bottle in there, got a fly off handbrake and a shifter added to the tunnel, put a prop shaft in, painted the rear axle a different colour, and obviously added the fuel cell in the back that you'll see when the boot's opened. Here's the main body, added a couple of decals on the side just to break up the green. Put a couple of sort of racing mirrors on it as well. Made a couple of holes there, you can see in the bulkhead where I'm going to add some strengthener rods in to hold the grille. There's the spoiler as well. Mounted the spoiler straight to the body. The boot still opens and closes okay. Got a couple of lamps. I had another one of these die-cast knocking around in the parts bin, and actually took the headlights off of one that wasn't missing, because these ones were missing originally, and I've sort of painted them black and painted in the lenses. There's the exhaust manifold again, and the inlet manifold, all ready for sort of final construction. These haven't been stuck on yet because they need to go on really after the body has been mounted onto the chassis. But here's the main bones of it all, just about to put it all together now. Here's the final model, all finished. I did put it on my turntable, but unfortunately my turntable's playing up. I think it might need some new batteries, so I'm just kind of turning it by hand. There you can see the front lights. I've mounted them directly onto the chassis, so they're nice and forward. You can see there, just see a bit of a gold bar there from the grille going to the bulkhead, just a couple of strengthener bars. Added a couple of little tail lights in there. They were just some silver pins sort of bent round and mounted directly to the chassis with a bit of red paint to show that they're brake lights. Loving the stance of this one, nice and low. Body's got a bit of a rake to it as well. You know, it's lower at the front than it is at the back, and it is channelled over the chassis. All in all, I said, you know, this one was always planned to be a bit of a fun build. It's a bit of a learning curve for me. So it's the first one that I've actually sort of built my own engine, built my own chassis, and pretty much, you know, I only really used the main body of the diecast itself, and even that I chopped a good sort of 40% of the body off, and obviously made the boot lid open and chopped the roof off. But all in all, I'm quite happy with how it turned out for my first attempt. Hope you guys like it as well. As I say, it was a bit of a long-term project. I've had this one going for the last couple of months, and I've just been doing bits and pieces in between other projects. And as I say, a bit of fun. Just wanted to do a bit of a JDM style hot rod, and overall, I quite like how it's turned out, and certainly will be one that will be on display in the display cabinet. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Obviously, by all means, keep posting. Please subscribe. Obviously, there will be some more builds coming up in the future. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you all again soon. Thanks a lot.